Going to start the meeting? Yeah. Good morning, Rotarians. Okay, can everyone out there hear me this morning?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a crowd. What a crowd. I really, this is, we have the most intrepid group of Rotarians here this morning. I am so proud of you all. I'll repeat that so everyone can hear. Andy said he's sorry he's late because he couldn't find a parking space. All right, so let's see. Let's start the meeting with, and I'm going to do the invocation this morning. I had to turn down so many volunteers. Okay, if you'll all bow your head. Let us pray. Lord of universe, one of your wise ministers said recently, you can judge a person by his checkbook stubs. As Rotarians, we are generally blessed with lives of relative luxury and opportunities unknown to many. Help us review our checkbooks and indeed the registers of our lives with honesty as we consider our priorities and our opportunity to help others. Open our hearts and our accounts to those in need while still providing us with appropriate fruits of our own labors. Help us to share not only our tangible wealth, but our intangible riches of knowledge, leadership, and creativity to make our city, our nation, and our world a better place filled with peace and love that you can bring through us. Amen. Amen. All right. And I'm going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, too. We get a twofer here. All right. If you'll join me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have no guests this morning. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. And the fourth. Yes, please. Oh, Andy, would you please fight your way through the crowd there?
Oh boy. Thank you kindly. So let us do the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Uno. Is it fair? Is it the truth? Duo. Is it fair to all concerned? Three. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And quattro. Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Andy, so impressive showing off your Spanish skills there this morning. I think your daughter-in-law would be very impressed. And your grandchildren. All right, we have no guests this morning, but we have a lot of great fellowship. So let me turn this over to our President Kelly. Yes, go.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm not coming up here. This seems kind of silly. There are a couple of administrative things. We have a great audience, and let's see what we have up there. I think we should take a moment of silence. Last week we lost the president and club member in Paul Mouget. That's away, I believe, on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. So if we could just take a moment of silence to honor Paul. Next week, so we're going to do this verbally, and then Marilyn, I'm going to probably need your assistance to agree. Next week, we will vote on the directors and the officers. And I figured the easiest way in which to do this and the fairest way in which to do it, there are 3 slates for director. This is the term for a director. This would be a 3-year term starting in 25, ending in 28. Officers, 3 open positions. There are 4 nominees. Correct. Next year, our officers are 1-year terms. There are 3 nominees, or 3 open slates, and 2 nominees. So we still need another individual willing to step up to be secretary of the club for the 25-26 fiscal year. So how we're going to do this is when you come in next week, all of those slate of officers and directors will be on a ballot that you'll find when you come in to sign in the morning. And for those that are not physically going to be here, if we could just put that in the weekly newsletter, and then they can just email me their wishes relative, I'll make sure that they all stay confidential. That would give everybody an opportunity to vote. So if you're away, which a lot of our members are, so, that should sort of nip that in the bud. And did anybody get an opportunity to see the inauguration? Bless you. Bless you. I don't know how many of those I've actually ever seen, but does everybody know who Amy Klobuchar is? She's a senator from, I think, Minnesota. Yeah, okay. She gave a quote, which I thought was quite good. This is from John F. Kennedy. In a democracy, every citizen, regardless of his interest and responsibility, regardless of his interest in politics, holds office. Every one of us is in a position of responsibility. So I thought I'd communicate that to the club, because that's also true of our club. You're a member, but you're a stakeholder in this club. So when we need the club to step up and fill these roles, whether they be for director, whether they be for officers, whatever they may be, it's really incumbent upon all of us. We make the club whatever it is. And so we've really got to do a good job of stepping forward. And I'll save the rest of the stuff for the end. Have we gotten our speaker connected to us? Dr. Kamel? Oh, okay. I'm going to go ahead. Who's going to introduce her? Oh, I will pass this to Mary.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Kamel. Dr. Haidy N Kamel is an associate professor of chemistry at Cuyahoga Community College, their Eastern campus. Dr. Kamel earned her bachelor's degree in Pharmaceutical Sciences from Suez Canal University in Egypt in 1998. She joined the graduate program at the University of Mississippi, where she earned her doctoral degree in Pharmacognosy, Chemicals in Natural Sources in 2004. Dr. Kamel received a fellowship from the National Institute of Underwater Science and Technology in 2006 to continue her research in drug discovery from natural sources. She has published 12 research articles in peer-reviewed journals, including the Journal of Natural Products, Chemical and Pharmaceutical Bulletin, and Tetrahedron. Dr. Kamel joined Tri-Seed in 2011, teaching chemistry courses, including inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, and biochemistry introductory courses. She also teaches an online course in herbal and dietary supplements. There's a strong link here with nutrition, you can see. Complementary and alternative medicine, commonly known as CAM, encompasses a wide range of practices, with natural products and dietary interventions playing a pivotal role. This presentation will address much of these topics. So we're going to let you take it over, Dr. Kamel. Welcome.
Thank you. Did everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate, the invitation, and I'm so pleased to be here with you. I apologize for not being there in person. I'm so impressed by those of you who were, up and driving in this weather. But so as she introduced the presentation, I'll be speaking with you today about complementary, alternative, and integrative therapies, with a really focus on natural products, dietary supplements, and some conversations about functional foods. Just a quick check. Can you see my slides? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So the way I structured this presentation would sort of give some definitions so that we understand what these terminologies mean. What is complementary? What is alternative? What is integrative? What is functional food that we hear about? And then again, the focus will be really on natural products, which is a type of complementary and integrative approaches to therapies or to treatment. So we're going to start with definitions and understanding what these terms mean. So complementary medicine, as the word complementary means, it's a type of non-mainstream or non-conventional therapy that is used together with conventional medicine. When I say conventional, I mean the traditional medicine that is going to a doctor, getting a prescription, going to buy the medicine. This is the traditional or the mainstream approach to treatment or to health. So complementary, it's something that is used to complement the mainstream approach to therapies. Alternative medicine is something that is in place of or instead of. It replaces conventional medicine. So it's an unconventional approach or not.
What other settings of lights do you?
I'm sorry, is that for me? Are you good?
Oh,
I apologize. Do I continue or is there something that I need to adjust on my end?
yes, continue.
Okay. So with alternative medicine, this is, again, it's a type of non-mainstream or non-conventional approach. It's not the traditional of going.
Slideshow? Can we open the screen to slideshow?
Okay.
Let's see if that works a little better.
Is that better?
Yes, much better. It's easier for us to see.
Yes.
We're also dimming the lights a bit so that things show up a bit better. Thank you.
No problem. I apologize. So the really difference between complementary and alternative, complementary is something that is used in addition to, along with, or together with conventional medicine, and alternative medicine is something that replaces the conventional medicine. Alternative medicine, or that whole approach, has slowly been phasing away as we understand that it is important to use both of these, conventional as well as non-conventional or non-mainstream approaches. The recent practice really is what we call integrative health, which brings both conventional and complementary approaches together, but in a very coordinated way, in a very thoughtful manner. Integrative health looks at the overall person, at the whole person. It's sort of a holistic approach to treatment. So it combines the complementary approaches, which is the non-conventional kind of medicine, along with the conventional or the mainstream medicine together. When I say conventional, again, it means going to the doctor, getting a prescription, perhaps having to go to rehab, all these types of conventional or mainstream approaches to treatments. And complementary medicine are things that are non-mainstream. And when I say that, it means things like chiropractic, like dietary supplement, nutrition, yoga. And I'll show on the next slide the main or the different types of complementary approaches that are in the United States and how people are using them. So back to integrative health. Integrative health is really a type of a very thoughtful approach to the health and well-being of a person, which combines both the mainstream or the conventional way of treating an individual along with the complementary non-mainstream approaches, but it's done in a very coordinated way. Functional medicine is very similar to integrative health, but it includes a lot of functional foods, which is based on nutrition. So the focus of functional medicine is to use nutrition as a complementary approach to treating an individual. Think about the different food that we eat that has nutritional values, but also could be used to treat certain kind of conditions or diseases, or even prevent these diseases as well. So functional medicine is very similar to integrative health, and we'll go back to that later. So on this slide, you'll see the 10 most common complementary health approaches among adults in the United States. This is a survey that was done in 2012. I recognize it's an old one. It's the one that is available on the National Institute of Health's website, which I believe it's their latest survey. They haven't done anything after that. And you can see natural products is the top. So that survey first showed us that about 30% of Americans are using some kind of complementary approach to their disease or to the management of their diseases. Natural products, 17.7% of adults in the United States are using natural products. And natural products means it could be dietary supplements, it could be herbal teas or herbal supplements, or it could also be functional food. All of these are within the category of natural products, something that is natural. And it's a product, not a practice. After that, there is deep breathing, which is now known as kind of mindfulness. And then there is yoga, chiropractic manipulation, there's meditation, massage, special diets. Here, the functional food comes. The functional food is a kind of a recent, recent exploration of nutrition and its effect on the well-being of an individual. Homeopathy comes after that, which has been slowly kind of disappearing because of the lack of scientific evidence. And then there is, relaxation and other techniques. My guess, if we would do this survey again, I think these practices would still be the same, except that I think, we might see a bit more of the special diets, like the functional food. I think that would be on top of the list a bit more. We might see also yoga and chiropractic, again, a bit higher in that list. That would be my guess if we do that survey again 15 years later. Okay, so I want to kind of give just a brief definition again of what is functional medicine and functional food so that we understand that, and then we'll jump into natural products, and that will be, the focus of the next maybe 10 or 15 minutes of the presentation. So functional medicine is a holistic approach to treat chronic diseases with a focus on nutrition. So the key word here is chronic disease. And that's really the difference between functional medicine and integrative health. They sound the same. They both are a holistic approach. They both combine conventional and complementary approaches. But the key word here is chronic diseases. Functional medicine is not for the treatment of acute conditions. It's for chronic diseases. Think, perhaps arthritis or asthma or diabetes, perhaps cancer prevention. And it does that with the regular use of food or nutrition. Over a long period of time. So again, it's not for acute conditions or the treatment of an infection per se. It focuses, of course, on food as a way that contains substances as a way to support the immune system and to treat these chronic diseases. So what are functional foods? When we say functional food, or we can use the food to treat chronic diseases, what is that? It's hard to define, or there is no wide definition for functional foods. So there is a lot of definitions out there. And this is one that I found in a research article that was published by the American Society of Nutrition, which I feel encompasses quite a different types of foods. It could be whole food, fortified foods, enriched or enhanced foods that provide health benefits beyond essential nutrition. So it's beyond just a protein as a nutrient. You have other type of, additives perhaps, or enhancements that are added to the food, or substances that are actually naturally existing in the food that provides benefit more than just essential nutrition. And again, this has to be consumed at a certain level and as a part of a varied diet on a regular basis. So again, the word regular basis here is sort of an important piece to remember. Okay, so the next part of this presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about natural products with a focus on medicinal plants and herbal supplements. This is my background. During my PhD, we studied medicinal plants and natural products, specifically drugs from natural sources, in order to, support health and treat certain conditions. So let's start by, again, a definition of what I mean by herbal products or medicinal or dietary supplements. And I'm going to focus specifically on herbal supplements, supplements that have herbs or medicinal plants. Those are products that contain plants. It could be the whole plant, or it could be part of a plant. So for example, it could only be the stems, it could only be the leaves, the flowers, so certain part of the plant, or it could be an extract of the plant. And the word extract is, I want to make sure that we all know what it means when I say extract. If you take the plant and soak it in a certain solvent, a lot of time we use a mixture of water and alcohol, and then concentrate that solvent, it becomes an extract. By taking the plant and soaking it in a liquid, you're basically extracting or removing all the molecules in the plant that has the medicinal value or that has the biological effect. So you have an extract, which is concentrated solution that contains all the molecules in the plant that has the medicinal value. So when you buy a herbal product and herbal supplements, it either contains a plant, usually it's ground up and placed inside a capsule, could be part of a plant, so perhaps only the flower, depending on where the molecule is located inside the plant, or an extract of the plant. And the word supplement, it's used to supplement the diet. Sometimes it is used to treat diseases or to prevent diseases. In other words, to stay healthy. So really, herbal supplements are used by consumers in different ways. Although the label says it's a dietary supplement, we know that some people are using it beyond just supplementing the diet. So as I mentioned, the survey from the NIH said in 2012 that about 30% of Americans used some kind of complementary or alternative or integrative approach. The use of herbal medicine itself has been documented worldwide, not just in the United States. So we know that about 18,000 plant species are recorded and are used as a medicine somewhere in the world. We know that in developing countries, in many countries where it is difficult to get to actual medications, a substantial proportion of the population are using traditional medicine, and they rely heavily on these medicinal plants for the treatment of diseases. Also, outside of the US, in the United Kingdom, we know that about 20 to 33% of the population say that they use regularly some type of a complementary alternative approach, whether it's a dietary supplement or yoga or meditation or all the other types that we've seen. And that last sentence on the slide, where 38% of adults and 12% of children are using some form of complementary medicine, that's in the US, and this is the data that was published by the NIH. Okay, so before I give you some examples of dietary supplements and how to get information on them, I think it's important to understand what is the difference between a bottle that has dietary supplement in it and between pharmaceutical products. So what is the difference between herbal products, as natural products, and a pharmaceutical product? So think about when you go to the store or to a pharmacy like a CVS or something, and then you'll see a shelf that's full of dietary supplement, including vitamins and some herbal supplements, and another shelf that has over-the-counter medications like Tylenol and some other pain relief. So what is the difference between a bottle that says it's an herb and a bottle that has Tylenol on it? So herbs are a complex mixture of chemical compounds, even if it's just one plant. A plant contains mixtures of chemical molecules. There's so many. It's not one or dozen. It's hundreds of chemical molecules inside the plant. When you look at a pharmaceutical product like a bottle of Tylenol, it only has one ingredient, which is acetaminophen. So there is only one drug or one molecule in a pharmaceutical product like Tylenol. Sometimes you might see two of them, and they're listed specifically those molecules that are inside the tablet or the capsule. But when you look at an herbal product, herbs are a complex mixture of chemical compounds. So hundreds of those chemical compounds. Sometimes we know from research, there is one molecule in that mixture that has the medicinal value, and all the other molecules are just there in the plant. They're not harmful, But we take it along with the one beneficial molecule in the plant. But there's also research that tells us that it's that mixture together that act in a synergistic way or fashion that provides the medicinal value. So sometimes having a mixture is actually beneficial rather than just one. Sometimes it's not. Every herb or every plant is unique in this fashion. And that's why one has to research a lot before using any of those herbal products to understand what's inside the plant, if there are other molecules that could perhaps cause some side effect or potential issues, or if it's really the mixture together that works in a synergistic fashion to have or to produce the medicinal value. The other difference, the second difference that you see on the slide, herbs are more dilute than pharmaceutical products. So in herbs, you do have mixtures of chemical compounds or molecules, but they're all in very, 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 very small amount or quantities. As compared to a pharmaceutical product, when you take a bottle of Tylenol, you know, it says acetaminophen, 250 milligrams, maybe 500, maybe 1,000 milligram. You know, there are multiple doses there. But in herbs, you know, these molecules are existing in very, very small quantity. And then the third portion or the third difference, which is the concentration of the active ingredient in the herb sometimes is not consistent and it differs from batch to batch. And that actually is natural because it is, you know, depending on where the plant has grown, depending on the soil condition, depending on the environmental condition, depending on the predators at which the plant has, you know, been exposed to, all of this affects, you know, the molecules on the plant because the plant makes these molecules as a defense mechanism for the most part. A majority of these molecules are synthesized in the plant or the plant makes them to defend itself against predators. So if the predator is there, the plant is going to make these molecules, which by the way turns out to be beneficial to humans. But if predators aren't there, maybe the plant doesn't really need to make these sort of expensive molecules, you know, to protect itself because there are no predators. That's just one example. Again, it could also depend on the way the plant is processed as well and placed into a tablet. So all of these different things affect the concentration of the molecules in the plant. And I'm really concerned about the molecule that has a medicinal value, right? I want to take a plant that has, or an herbal that has enough of the medicinal molecule so that I could get the benefit. Unfortunately, because of nature, or fortunately, but also because of how the plant, where the plant is grown, the way the plant is processed, all of these things affect, you know, the concentration or the amount or the quantity of the active constituent inside the plant. With that being said, recently there has been advancement in this area where we see the word standardized sometimes on the label of dietary supplement. Standardized means that the extract or the plant or the herb itself has been gone through a process that standardized the amount or the quantity of the active ingredient or the active constituent. So that's a good step towards sort of a consistent concentration of these active constituents. So I wanted to make sure that we understand the difference between herbs and pharmaceutical products. So when you go buy something, you know what the general differences are. Okay, so these are some examples of herbal supplements that you could see, you know, in a drugstore or one of the health and wellness stores like a GMC. I have 3 examples. The St. John's wort is a very popular one. It contains the aerial parts of the plant Hypericum perforatum. And this is used as, it has antidepressant properties. You can see the label. I'm not sure if you can see that, but if you go to the store, the label will say it's mood enhancing. It really has antidepressant activity. Extracts of ginkgo biloba is another one that you might see commonly. I don't think I have a picture of that, but then we also have chamomile tea as an example of different types of herbal supplements. It could come as capsules, it could come as extract inside a capsule or the actual dried plant, or it could come as an herbal tea. There's something else that I kind of want to point your attention to, that sometimes you might have a pharmaceutical product that contains a natural molecule. So scientists could extract or remove that one molecule that has the medicinal value from the plant and concentrate it in a pharmaceutical product. And those exist, and they're very beneficial. So some example of natural compounds that were removed from the plant and, kind of put into a pharmaceutical products. Morphine is one of them that is obtained from the plant opium poppy. Taxol is a relatively new compound that is used to treat cancer, breast cancer specifically, that is obtained from the plant Taxus brevifolia, which is known as the Pacific yew. It's obtained from the bark of this plant. I think that has been approved by the FDA about 10 years ago, so relatively recent. And then quinine, which has been used for many, many, many years to treat malaria, and that is obtained from the bark of the cinchona tree, known as the cinchona bark. So these are molecules that are natural, but they're isolated from the plant and then given as a pharmaceutical product. And sometimes that's good because, some of these could have side effects and, or potential issues that we need to watch very carefully how an individual is taking those. So a prescription is probably needed for those. Okay, one of the issues that we encounter a lot with herbs is the herbal quality. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier is, the way the plant is grown, how it's grown, where it's grown, the way the plant is processed, shipped, all of that affects the ingredient or the constituents inside the herb or the plant. But also a key here is to properly identify the plant because there are thousands and thousands of species of plant, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to identify it just from the appearance or the morphology. Sometimes we need to do a microscopic examination. Sometimes we need to do some chemical testing to verify the identity of the plant. So identification sometimes is tricky. And then, the quality of the plant also can be tricky because a lot of times we might see adulteration. So expensive herbs can sometimes be mixed with a different kind of herb that is a bit cheaper. Cheating can occur a lot in these herbal medicine. So herbal quality is a little bit of it's a tricky part. Again, standardized standardized extracts are now a step towards advancement in the area of herbal quality. So I typically look for standardization on the label if I do go buy an herbal supplement. I personally prefer to use the actual plant or the herb in the form of herbal tea. Just a couple words about the regulation of herbal supplements and how the regulated herbal products are regulated as dietary supplements. There's an act that was approved in 1994. It's the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, or the SHEA, and that regulates dietary supplements. That is slightly different than the way drugs or typical medicines are regulated. So in a pharmaceutical product, before it becomes available to the consumer, whether it's a prescription or not, it has to go through a series of clinical trials, and it has to be approved by the FDA. Herbal supplements they don't go through the same procedure. However, before marketing, they do have to be assessed for effectiveness in a different way than clinical trials. And they also have to be some kind of proven safe from research. You can see that the safety profile, however, that the manufacturer has to produce is not as thorough as typical pharmaceutical products. So they have to have a safety profile, but it's sort of a limited, safety profile, what is required for a manufacturer to just put out an herbal product, an herbal supplement, or a dietary supplement. And every dietary supplement has to have this statement or that says this statement has not been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent a disease. This has to be printed on every dietary supplement. And the label of an herbal supplement or dietary supplement is not allowed to say it is used to treat a certain disease or prevent a certain disease. So when you look at these, you'll see things that are sort of vague. For example, St. John's wort, the label cannot say antidepressant, but it can say mood enhancing. Something, let's say like echinacea or elderberry, it cannot say treat cold symptoms, but it can say perhaps supports the immune system, right? So you cannot claim to treat a certain disease on the label, but it can be, kind of a vague thing. I actually find that quite problematic because many of these dietary supplements and herbal products, they do treat diseases. And by not claiming that on the label, you kind of don't help the consumer. At the same time, they don't put the safety issues or possible side effects on the label. There's a lot of issues with this type of regulation of dietary supplements, especially when we know that the herbs can be effective for treatment of certain diseases. Once the dietary supplement is on the market, the FDA then monitors all the claims. If there are inappropriate claims are made, you can go on the FDA website and then submit in a certain side effect or issue that you've encountered with a certain dietary supplement. And when the FDA receives so many of those claims, they can either issue the manufacturer a warning, or sometimes they remove the product completely from the shelf if it caused issues. And we've had that happen with a couple of products in the past. In terms of the efficacy or efficiency of herbal supplements, the golden rule that we use and we like to see are randomized control double-blind clinical trials. So we want to see that in the research area. Randomized controlled double-blind clinical trials, and of course, replicable, right? Something that can be replicated. It's good to establish the active constituent in the plant, so to understand what molecule in the mixture of the molecules that has the medicinal value. Sometimes that is possible, and we know that there's a lot of research and lots of laboratories across the US and the world that work on plant extracts to identify the molecule that has medicinal value. But sometimes it's not possible because it's a mixture, right? Because it's that mixture together that has the synergistic effect. There's also some research that tells us that some plants, the several constituents there act as multiple targets. So they work on different targets in the body. It is also one of the goals of research scientists in this field is to identify the optimum chemical composition of the plant material. What is the best chemical composition out there in the plant material that has the effect that we want? On this slide, I have some examples of safe and common herbal products. Some of them are quite recent and some of them have been there for many, many years. Echinacea has been established to be effective as for its immunostimulant benefits. It supports the immune system. This is, I'm showing you the slides that show the flowers. These are the part of the plant. This is the part of the plant that has the medicinal value, the flowers of Echinacea purpurea. Elderberry is relatively new. Maybe in the past 20 or 25 years or so, there is research that tells us that elderberry may relieve symptoms of the flu, colds, or other respiratory tract infections. There's a number of clinical trials that has proven that. St. John's wort has been out there for many, many, many years, 100 years maybe. It consists of the flowers of the plant Hypericum perforatum, those beautiful yellow flowers. And it has central nervous system effects. It's used as antidepressant. It is effective. We know the mechanism by which it works in the body. This is one of the plants that has been studied extensively, and that's why we have these standardized herbal supplements of St. John's wort. We do have to be careful, though, because for possible drug interactions, and I'm going to talk about this in the next slide. So this is the point of herb-drug interactions. It's very, unfortunately, a lot of time people take dietary supplements or herbal supplements along with their medicine, thinking that they're all safe because, natural is safe, which is absolutely incorrect. But, with that mentality, you would go pick up a bunch of dietary supplements and use those to complement, right, the prescription that the doctor gave you, not knowing that taking these herbal products along with a prescription medication could cause interactions with problems. St. John's wort is famous for that. And again, because it has been studied extensively, we know that using St. John's wort along with other antidepressant, which happens frequently because, when the doctor gives me antidepressant and then I'll go get, some other dietary supplement to help me with my depression. And then you combine these two together and then it becomes a problem. We found that St. John's wort actually inhibits and sometimes it induces certain enzymes in the body that affects the metabolism of drugs. So actually taking St. John's wort with prescription antidepressant medication, it interferes with it and sort of reduces its effect. And then the overall outcome is negative for the patient. Other drugs that significantly interacts with St. John's wort, I have them listed here. This is from the paper that is cited at the bottom of the screen. Those are all prescription medication. Simvastatin is one, a popular one, which is cholesterol-lowering medication. It also interferes with oral contraceptives. It lowers their effect. Other antidepressant, like I said, digoxin is a heart medication. So it does interfere with many of the prescription medications. So it's very important to kind of do their own, for the consumer to do their own research before taking these dietary supplements, because unfortunately the label doesn't tell you that. Some safety issues have been reported. Some plants are toxic, but that's nature. We know that, right? So we just be careful. So some plants contain some molecules that could be toxic, like the ones I've listed up there. The issue that I really find is that the contamination that sometimes, you buy certain type of dietary supplements and it would be contaminated either with some cheap plants that has no medicinal value, or maybe sometimes we will see products coming from China or India where they actually added in a drug or a pharmaceutical product to enhance the activity. So when one person takes it and it causes, significant effect, then they immediately go back for more. Sometimes it's just accidental contamination, again, because of the environmental conditions or the drying or the harvesting or however it was packaged, that it may be, accidentally contaminated with some kind of pathogens. However, the quality control in the big manufacturing industries, they do prevent all the accidental contamination. So products are not, they're not contaminated with pathogens or fungus or anything like that. But before I kind of go back to functional foods, which I only have a few more minutes, I want to kind of first give you some sources of information where you can find, or some sources where you can find reliable information about dietary supplements. Some of the sources I'm listing on this slide, I'm happy to share the slides with you all. National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, but the NIH has a long list of all the dietary supplements and the herbs. You'll see more information about echinacea, elderberry, ginkgo, ginseng. All of these are listed on their website, and they have sound scientific evidence from clinical trials. I love the site called nutritionfacts.org. It also has, presents honest evaluation of each herbal product. American Botanical Council is a famous one. This is, it presents the Commission e-monographs, which is actually in German, but it translates those German monographs. Unfortunately, that requires a subscription. It's not free. But I do have to say that in Europe, there is a lot of advancement in the area of herbal supplements. So specifically in Germany, so we see a lot of those German monographs to contain a lot of, sound scientific information. So these are all translated in the American Botanical Council. And then, of course, the FDA site, in case, that we want to check for any possible reported issues with a certain herbal product. It is important to understand the benefits, of course, the risks, and to look for a sound scientific evidence. And I encourage all of you, I'm not giving you any advice here, and I do ask all of you that you talk to your healthcare providers when you are taking, dietary supplement, because again, it may cause an interaction with a certain prescription medication that you're having or a possible side effect. So this is in terms of herbal supplements. I want to jump us back into functional food. I'm sorry.
You turn the lights on.
Do you think I can get a few more minutes, maybe 3 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So just going back to functional food, I presented this definition before on the first slide. Functional food is really food that has a health benefit beyond just the provision of nutrition. One of the primary and most important things when we talk about functional food is to find a strong evidence, and that comes from significant scientific agreement. There's so many clinical trials that are being done. Some of them are well-designed, random with double-blind controlled studies, which is the gold standard, but some that aren't that great. But we do have a lot of meta-analyses as well that tells us the sort of like the overall evidence, whether it's strong or weak or moderate. I do want to share with you just this one slide that has some functional foods that has been extensively researched with sort of a strong or moderate evidence. And this is a paper that was published about 15 years ago. It provides benefits. It talks about the benefits, the concerns, and the challenges, which comes from the American Council of Science on Science and Health. But you see here omega-3 fatty acids. I had that in my little spiel. Omega-3 fatty acids are found in fatty fish like salmon and what else? Herring, maybe mackerel. The health benefits of omega-3 fatty acids have been established with strong evidence, that is sound scientific evidence that is done from the gold standard clinical trials as well as epidemiological studies. And we know now that omega-3 fatty acids reduce the level of triglycerides, they reduce heart disease and cardiac death, as well as fatal and non-fatal myocardial infarction. So something to kind of incorporate in your diet, omega-3 fatty acids or fatty fish. You can see in this table, it tells you the strength of evidence is strong, and then the recommended amount or frequency of intake is twice a week. So, eating twice a week, some kind of fish will provide you with some kind of fatty fish, right? Will provide you with the omega-3 fatty acids. Garlic is another one. I think garlic is one of those things that could go as a functional food, but you also see it as herbal products. You see dietary supplements and on the shelf that has garlic on it. Garlic also is one of those, things that has been extensively studied. They contain an organosulfur compound, which I have the picture of that compound or that structure on the next slide. But we know, again, we have from clinical trials some moderate evidence that it reduces the total and the LDL cholesterol in the body. The recommended amount is about 600 to 900 milligrams per day. That's about 1 clove or 2 cloves of garlic a day. You could also get a dietary supplement, and I have some suggestions on the next slide. Green tea also, there is sort of weak to moderate evidence, and I think it's because it's only coming from epidemiological studies versus clinical trials, but we also know that green tea reduces the risk of certain types of cancer. So these are things that you can incorporate in your diet. Again, I have the citation on the name of the paper on top of that screen here, and I'm happy to share those slides with you. This paper is available on the internet, so if you just Google that title, you'll get to the actual paper, and that table lists a lot of different types of functional food and their evidence and their health benefits and how much you want to take every day. And again, remember that functional food it helps with chronic diseases if you use it on a regular basis in the amount that provide the effect that you want. So functional medicine really requires person to have an intentional approach to diet and to incorporate these functional foods in your diet, on a regular basis with intentionality. Here's the slide. This is my last one that shows some of, the safe and clinically effective herbal products. And I think this slide here has these two herbal products because they kind of are in between. They could go as functional food and they could also fit the category of dietary supplement. There is garlic on the right, and you can see this molecule that has sulfur in it. It's a organosulfur compounds. It shows a little bit about how it works. Basically, you have alleine inside the cells, and when you crush it, it releases an enzyme called alliinase, which converts it into the molecule with the medicinal value. So ideally, one would want to crush a clove. I know that is very difficult to do. Maybe kind of chop them up and include them in a salad and then eat it fresh while the allicin is being released. This again lowers the level of cholesterol as well, total cholesterol as well as LDL. There's some data that shows it has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, but that's very weak scientific evidence. The side effects are very minor, just heartburn, which is typical, when you eat garlic. If you prefer not to eat garlic and you want to take a dietary supplement, then look for the enteric-coated tablets because they protect the molecule and it's not released until it reaches the intestine. Ginger is also one of the extensively studied traditional approaches been used for many, many years. And what we know about these ginger roots is that they antiemetic, meaning it reduces vomiting and nausea. And so that is very well known. And it's also safe during pregnancy. It also has some anti-inflammatory and digestive effect. Again, not at sort of a weak evidence, but ginger is safe. Right? Again, even if you take a lot of it, the only side effect you may encounter is a bit of heartburn. But so, I'm a one who's a very big proponent of ginger, and I use it quite a bit. Chamomile is one of my favorite as well. Peppermint for digestive systems problems, and whenever I struggle with some digestion, that's my go-to. This is my last slide, and I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you for the invitation. Again, it's an honor to be with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Dr. Kamel. I have one question. I love that one slide where you showed the fatty fish is having, I'm sorry, what was it? Strong evidence or of its efficacy, I suppose. Do you have, can you throw a few other teasers to us, a few other ones where there's strong evidence like that?
Yes, if you give me a minute. Yeah, absolutely. If you give me a minute, I'm gonna look up that.
When I look at this, I see, the green tea, it's weak to moderate, the spinach, collard greens, et cetera, weak to moderate. And I'm a little disappointed that the evidence isn't stronger there, but mother would probably be very disappointed. She's a believer in some of those things, but yeah, I mean, if there's others that you think are where it's more of where the evidence is stronger, I'd love to know a little bit about that.
So there has been a lot of research in terms of the Mediterranean diet as supporting the immune system and a type of functional food that people could use with, I'm going to say moderate evidence because it's relatively new. But products, I would say with strong, so that can also go into the herbal products as well. Soy products and whole oat products have very strong evidence to reduce cholesterol levels. Whole oat specifically for a molecule called the beta-glucan. So whole oat products, very strong evidence from replicable clinical trials that reduced total as well as LDL cholesterol. Something else that I'm going to give you an example, because my husband is a urologist, is the cranberry juice for the prevention of urinary tract infection. There is moderate evidence there. It's not very strong, but it's moderate. So just when you get the cranberry juice, watch out for the sugar content if somebody has diabetes, but it does have evidence that it reduces UTIs because it contains what we call proanthocyanidins.
I have a question about Kamel. Recently, I've been reading several articles about ultra-processed foods, specifically in yogurts. That, you know, if you read your product labels, there's a significant difference between many of the commercial brands. Can you address the issue of ultra-processed foods?
Yes, absolutely. Ultra processed foods, it exists everywhere around us. I think the market is completely saturated with ultra processed food, which are not healthy. The more you process the food, and unfortunately, when I say processed, they add some other substances to it, whether it's preservatives or, you know, flavoring agents, and some of them have not been tested significantly to, you know, show that they have no positive effect. You know, it's better to get whole food or whole products that is minimally processed. I'm not sure, you know, what else I could say about that, but you know, whole food products generally are better because they're just minimally processed. I don't know if that helps.
Dr. Kamel, thank you for being with us this morning. The presentation was very insightful. Getting back to the supplements that you were talking about, there are certain supplements that have maybe additives to it that are not healthy or maybe diminish from the effectiveness of the dietary supplement. Not asking you to either advocate or disparage any retailers or any brand, but if you are to go and look to obtain some of these dietary supplements, are there certain things on the label or certain things you should be looking for to make the purchasing will give you the best benefit and not maybe have some of those negative additives that either harmful or not really do what you're expecting the dietary supplement?
Yeah, so before I even go to the store, I would do my research to just understand what the benefits of a certain supplement, if there is any, dietary supplements, specifically when I talk about herbal products. You know, vitamins have been well established, but, you know, because vitamins are dietary supplements as well. But in terms of herbs, before I even go out there, I will do my research. So I check some of these sites that I've shared with you. And I personally read a number of papers, you know, meta-analysis. And a meta-analysis paper basically looks at all the clinical trials. So if there's hundreds of those clinical trials that are done worldwide, then they analyze all of them and they kind of give me the final conclusion if it is conclusive. And I also understand if there is any side effects. And then when I go to the store, I mean, honestly, if I want something, I try to get the actual plant itself. So I use the old ones, like I said, like chamomile, you know, peppermint, green tea, all of these drinks, you know, in the form of herbal teas. If that is not available as an actual herbal tea, when I go to the store, sometimes the word standardized, based on my research, the word standardized would be good to see because it means that the product has a standard level of the medicinal molecule. And then if none of that, I go for the big manufacturer. I don't, it's hard to tell, honestly, but big manufacturers, I think, have a lot to lose. I avoid buying them from Amazon because I don't know the source, if it's coming from, you know, India or China. You know, sometimes these products may come a bit contaminated with heavy metals. We've seen that in some of the products that come from India. So I'd avoid Amazon in that area. It's very, very challenging because of how the regulation of dietary supplements are. So it is a challenge. I don't know if that helps at all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. Extremely informative.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get through a longer list of just stuff. There is a club board meeting on the 5th of February after the regular club meeting in a foundation meeting on the 12th of February after the club meeting. The Hudson High School service learning. If you were scheduled for helping with the acts of kindness on Tuesday, whatever day, yesterday, whatever, what's today, 22nd, 21st, you would be recreating that the following Tuesday, which is the 28th. So anybody who had signed up for the 21st, just same thing, different day, 21st to the 28th. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or reach out to Jake. We have no roadblock today, correct? Give him his money back. Winner. All right. Yeah, but well, you know, it's a wash, right? It's kind of like the federal government wrote a buck. Put a buck in, get a buck back. All right, so let's close this thing out. So useless but important facts. How many in this room fly regularly? Although I tried to find the date of this survey and I could not, but it implied that over 50% of pilots have admitted to falling asleep mid-flight. Gets better. And of those pilots, now what pilot would go on a survey and admit that they fell asleep mid-flight? That I gotta believe, if it's 50%, that number is probably higher. Of the 50% that said that they did fall asleep, 29% said when they woke up, the co-pilot was asleep as well. Can you believe that? Thank God for autopilot. Now, I haven't flown. Yeah, actually, and having flown even larger aircraft, yeah, pilots really don't do anything. They're autopilot. They can actually land. They can take off. Well, I mean, you would think you would want someone, especially if the industry thought you should have a co-pilot, you would think somebody should be awake looking at stuff. I don't know, but you know, with drones and all kinds of stuff out there today, who knows? So that's what I leave you with. Everybody enjoy your day, stay warm. We'll see you here next Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.